Welcome to the Tashina Christian Faith Podcast. And tonight I want to talk about Christians that are married and Christians that are single, non-believers who are married and non-believers who are single. Stop pushing marriage on single people when they say they don't want to be married. Stop making them feel like there's something wrong because they don't have kids and you do. Those are the choices that you made. We don't want that. Some people are content in their career, living their life, living in their homes, and, putting God first in our life, of course. But not everybody wants kids. Not everybody wants to be married, and there's always a story behind sometimes why people don't want kids or why they don't want marriage. Mine personally is before I came to Jesus Christ, I was living in sin with a man. And it made me realize at the end of that relationship, which was very long and horrible, might I add, it made me realize at the end of that relationship, I don't want to be nobody's girlfriend. I don't want to take care of nobody. I don't want to be nobody's wife. Not saying I don't have those traits, because I'm a wonderful girlfriend when I was. And it just made me realize I don't want those things. So which brings me to my first Bible verses tonight that I agree with Apostle Paul when he said in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 6 through 8, where he said, "But I am saying this as a concession, not as a command. I wish that all the people were as I am, but each person has his own gift from God, one of this kind and one of that. But I say to the unmarried and to the widows that as a practical matter, it is good if they remain single and entirely devoted to the Lord as I am." And that's what I wanted to bring up tonight. I agree with him. When you are single and you don't have a desire to be married, your priorities are different than a married person or a single person that wants to be married. They seek things of the world, like a husband. When is God gonna bring my husband? I can't wait. And their patience are different. Their focus is totally different than a single person. So when they come across a friend in church or a sister in church that's single, and this happens at church too, you can tell by the tone of people's voices when they're asking you about your lifestyle, or when they bring up marriage a lot, you can tell that they think you should be married. And I know there's a variety of people that think I should be married, but I just don't want that. That's just not my life. That's not my calling. I already know that. Straight from heaven. So I just want to say to married people and single people, stop projecting your viewpoints on the single person. If you come across a Christian or you come across a non-believer, ever how it is, and they're married and they're single and they're just content in their life, leave it at that. The worst thing you can do to someone is say, "Oh, why aren't you married? Why don't you have kids?" Because you never know their background. Like if they grew up around kids all their life, that can turn an adult away from kids, wanting kids when they get older. If they haven't met the right person and they're not married, that can turn someone away from not wanting to be married. Or if they've just had a string of serious relationships, like I've had some in my lifetime, and I'm just like, okay, this isn't for me. I don't like being in relationships. I don't like dating. And like I said earlier, I did things before I came to Christ and when I wasn't saved that made me really know the structure of why it's important to get married before you just start shacking up with someone. Because I did that and it was the worst thing I ever did. It was the worst relationship I ever been in. Horrible. And that really made me realize at the end of the relationship that I don't want to be married. I don't want to cater to someone. I don't want to coddle to someone. And that's just that. So you run across a lot of people sometimes that always want to say, "Oh, you should be married. Why don't you have kids?" I don't get it. But it's not for you to get. You need to understand that it's for the person that's living that life. And that's why I like what Paul said in chapter 1, verse 1 Corinthians. Sorry, I misspoke. In 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 8, where he said it is good to remain single and be entirely devoted to the Lord as he is. And I agree with that. And I know a lot of other people out there could really sympathize with what I'm saying right now, because as a single person, I get tired of people asking me about marriage sometimes when it does come up, or they'll start dropping hints that they think you should be married by saying, oh, well, I was married at this time. And, you could just tell sometimes when they bring it up too much, or they just give you that pity look. Like, I don't need your pity looks. If I don't want to be married, I don't want to be married. If I don't want kids, I don't want kids. That's that. It goes hand in hand. So which brings me to my the second set of Bible verses I want to bring to your heart tonight, which is 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 32 through 35. And it goes as follows: but I want you to be free from concern. The unmarried man is concerned about the things of the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But the married man is concerned about worldly things, how he may please his wife, and his interests are divided. The unmarried woman or the virgin is concerned about the matters of the Lord, how to be holy, set apart, both in body and in spirit. But a married woman is concerned about worldly things, how she may please her husband. Now I say this for your own benefit, not to restrict you, but to promote what is appropriate and secure, undistraction, devotion to the Lord. So you see in chapter 7 and some of the verses that I chose tonight, Paul is really going in on, if you're not attached and you're single and you're content with that and you don't have a burning desire to be married, that your devotion is not divided, is your devotion is to God. And so as a single person and single people, when we are Christians living part of the kingdom, our devotion is to the Lord, and everything else falls up under your job, your money, church, all that stuff comes after Jesus Christ. You're not divided. When a married woman is married to a man, she's divided between the world, her husband. When a man is married to a woman, he's divided between the world, his wife. That's what Paul is teaching us. It's okay to get married, people, if you want that, but always make sure that you're walking with Christ so he can choose or help you choose with God's wisdom on who to get married to, and make sure that works for your lifestyle. But what you should not do, and what I don't like people doing, and they still do it low key, but I'm sure a lot of people gonna hear this tonight, but that's all right. Stop putting projecting yourself onto people. If you're married, you've been married for years and you're happy and you have your ups and downs, so be it. Okay, that's you. But when you have like a single friend and you talk about marriage all the time, we don't want to hear that. And you talk about kids all the time, that's fine. If you're like just telling us about your life and your marriage and you want like some kind of advice on, hey, I did this and this and that for my husband, what do you think about this gift type stuff like that? That's cool. But what you should stop doing, and single people that want to be married to, Christian, non-Christian, believers, non-believers, stop telling people they should be married. Stop telling people they should have kids. Because most of the time when people do have kids, the kids get on their nerves all the time. They try to push them off of somebody else, the non-responsible adults. But then even the responsible adults, they be talking about their kids bad half the time. I see it all the time, hear it all the time online when I'm watching videos. I see it. But what you should stop doing is projecting. I cannot stand when people project on me as a single woman that I should be married with kids because I'm quite the catch. Don't you think I know that? But I don't want to be married because I know the responsibility that comes with marriage. And I know the dividing that comes with marriage, as the wisdom from God gives me in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, the verses that I dropped on you tonight. A married man is divided between this world and his wife. A married woman is divided between this world and her husband. I don't want to be divided. I'd rather just live my life for Christ and everything else falls into place because I'm walking in the power of the Holy Spirit. And I think everybody else should do the same too. So like I said, if you're a married person and you got single friends in your life, take this as great advice. Do not push marriage on them because you will push them away from the friendship. Do not push kids on them if you have kids because you will push them away from the friendship. Respect the boundaries that single Christians have, or whoever's single in your life, and you have these conversations with people. We don't be wanting to hear it. We want to hear about how your life's going, how your marriage is going, if we're friends, of course, how things are going with your kids, how they're doing in school. We want to hear all that. But what we don't want to do is you're projecting, because I think sometimes, for me personally, being friends with different people throughout life, they when they're married, they feel some kind of like, oh, this is my single friend. I feel bad. She don't have a husband like me. Don't worry about it, honey. It's all right. I don't want what you have. What you have is your journey. What I have is my journey. So what you don't need to do is worry about if I'm married. What you don't need to do is projecting your viewpoints on me, because not everybody that's single wants to be married. Not everybody that's single wants to be married with kids or adopt kids. It's different journeys for everybody's life. And I just want people to understand that if you have single people in your life, stop pushing it. Another thing I want to cover tonight too is use wisdom when you are quoting this to single people on your platform, and you're single yourself and you want to be married, or you're married if you use this Bible verse, Genesis chapter 1 verse 28, and it goes as follows: God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and every creature that crawls on the earth. In Genesis chapter 1 verse 28, this goes back to how you study your Bible, what kind of church you go to, for you to really understand this, and stop using it out of context, people. I've heard it and it's horrible. The viewpoints that you're trying to use with this, and I think you guys know where I'm going with this, stop pushing kids on people. So when people are using this Bible out of context, in First Genesis chapter 28, they'll say, but God said in the Bible, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Yeah, that's Genesis. Who was the first people on this earth? Adam and Eve. So that's who God was talking to. He said, be fruitful and multiply. He's talking to them in that specific time frame. But how it goes for us, using God's wisdom, if you want to be married and you want kids, that is okay. Those are great things to have, if that's your desire and your passion. But you should not push that on everyone to be married and to be fruitful and multiply, because then you're using it out of context, because it's meant for married people. He was talking to Adam and Eve specifically in this chapter of the Bible, but it can go for you if you want to be married with kids and you have the means and the money to have that many kids, and you have a heart and a desire to have that many kids, so be it. But what you should not do as a Christian, or if you're cherry picking through the Bible, you know how those cherry pickers are. They love to pick through our Bible. And you're trying to say, but the Bible said be fruitful and multiply. I've heard single people use it too in a video, and it's horrible. Don't do it. Where they be like, well, the Bible said be fruitful and multiply, so that's why I have all these kids. Nah, be married and be fruitful and multiply if you got the money and you want to be. But until then, I'm just here to tell you guys tonight, if you got single friends in your life and they are Christians and they are saying that they are content with just living for the Lord and being devoted to the Lord, and not wanting to be divided if they had a husband or they had a wife, like, you know, male and female, because that's the only marriage I believe in. That's the only marriage God recognizes. Yes, I dropped that. Be all right with that. Be all right with your friend being single. Be all right with your friend just living for the Lord and being devoted to the Lord. Be all right with your friend not wanting kids. Don't push what you have in your life and your passions in your life on your single friends. We don't want to hear it. I'm out.